You are now tuned into Daily Discussions with Dina. Join in the discussion right here, Monday through Friday at 12:30 p.m.
Well, hello everyone. I am live today and I want to thank you for joining me. If you have not already, I invite you to subscribe. And if you would like the link to talk with me during this discussion, you most certainly can. Now, today I wanted to talk about um, relations and relationships because we are certainly living in a totally different era when it comes to building relationships. I was looking at a picture that was posted. Hey, Nikki, how are you? It's good to see you, sis. And it was just interesting to me how we see relationships today. So I wanted to actually get others' opinions. Are we really more interested in just having relations? And when I say relations, we all know what I mean. Or are we interested in building real relationships? Peace, Pookie. Good to see you. And it's very interesting today what we see in the dynamic that is out here. So that is something I wanted to speak on today. I was watching the movie Kindred, and the main character, name is Dana. Dana had met this Caucasian waiter at the restaurant that she and her aunt and uncle were having dinner at that night. And he gave her a ride home. The next day, Dana engaged in sexual relations with him. And she had only known him in less than 24 hours. And I was thinking, oh my goodness, Dana girl, you're not even gonna play hard to get. You're not gonna even get to know this guy. I said, is that what they're doing today? Girl, come on. She don't know his family, his mother. She don't know if he is a psycho, a sexual predator. But she is already engaging in sex with him. She don't know if he has an infection or disease or anything about this person. And I know that is a movie, but I hear people confessing to doing this all the time nowadays. And it just makes me wonder, has it become more important to have relations, which code words for sex in case you didn't know, or build a relationship with someone? When you build a relationship, you're trying to relate to them and connect with them and bind together with them. And in order to do this long term, you have to get to know the person. And I am speaking of those who are engaged in um, relationships with the opposite sex. It's like wham bam. Then later you are left asking all of the questions about that person that you should have been asking before you even hooked up with them. Why are you meeting me like this? Maybe you took a little time to get to know them better. You would have known or caught some of the little signs or red flags about this person. People just move too fast nowadays. And it may very well explain the complete superficial mindset of people today. People seem to be so in love with the outwardly appearance of others that it takes precedence over having just plain common sense today. and may well explain why we have people all over social media complaining about the opposite sex all the time. If I had $1 for somebody complaining about the person who is not with them anymore, or they've been in a relationship with, and comparing it to everyone, you can't just do that because of your experience. And it may very well explain why the majority of people have no accurate way of how to actually choose or pursue a mate beyond what they see physically. So now you get instructions from dimwits that tell you to focus on sex or what they see with the naked eye. And so you're having these sexual encounters rather than taking the time to learn as much as you can about the individual, especially before engaging in something as intimate as sex with a random person. Someone you just met yesterday, or someone you just had a dance with at a club. You can call me old school and I will accept that. I am perfectly okay with that, rather than engaging in some of this sexually promiscuous behavior that seems to be very common today, and it's almost like it's being pushed today. And then when you engage in this act, and there happens to be a child, sadly, that is produced from such a union, people become bitter. And like it is the other person's fault, you're blaming everybody. Well, I didn't know she was like this, and she this, or he that. But they tend not to take any responsibility for their own behavior or their own actions. Now, this society seems to be leaning more and more toward a uncivilized culture, and it's full of sexual deviance in the populace, and their behavior is almost animalistic in a sense, like the way mongrels behave. And I do know that. Not all animals, even in nature, in the wildlife, not all animals do this. Some animals actually mate for life. But then you have dogs. You know what dogs do. They just mate with different females in the group, paying no mind to anything else. So we have to be careful that we are not taking on these subconscious animalistic behaviors. We're not conducting ourselves as animals, because the only thing that separates human from the wild animals is supposed to be their civilized behavior. And it would seem that some human beings are more than willing to go happily to this conformity, which leads me to what the Pope said. Now, Pope Francis told the Associated Press that while Catholic teaching holds that the homosexual act are a sin, being homosexual is not a crime, is what he said. He stressed the need to distinguish between the two and said, for example, that lack of charity with one another is also a sin. He added that the Catholic Church should work to put an end to laws in some countries that criminalize homosexuality. Now, I think people have the right to believe what they want, and I don't follow the Pope's opinion. I cannot believe sometimes how people allow those that are put in front of them to completely control their thinking and allow common sense to take a back seat to what they say they believe. Now, if you say that you believe in the book, the Bible, or whatever you may believe in, and if it teaches against a behavior and you have someone in front of you that supports it, which do you follow? So no one person's opinion or interpretation would cause you to reject what is written or what it is that you say you believe, and that includes the Pope. Now, being charitable is not the issue when it comes to homosexuality or those that are different from yourself, because many do not know or care who it is that you engage in sex with unless you confess or you present yourself in such a way that causes one to speculate. Now, if it involves pedophilia or children or molestation, anything that involves children, I'm not okay with. That is a whole nother subject for me. And no, I'm not okay with it. Nope, not under any circumstances. That's a no. But for the most part, people do not have a problem being cordial or charitable to anyone different from themselves. The issue becomes a problem when that person or group tries to force their lifestyle or their behavior on others and try to make their choices a part of everyone else's reality. You chose that. I didn't choose it, and I don't have to accept it. I don't have to mistreat you for whatever it is that you have chosen to do. But you can't push your lifestyle on others and make it acceptable in their reality. So when they are planning and intentionally targeting you, and I am talking about young children, young, easily impressionable children with no idea whatsoever about sex, the entire act of sex is not even on their mind, and you are telling them that they have the ability to choose their sexuality, nah, I have a problem with that. They're not even developed enough mentally to make such a decision because they are still learning about themselves, their world, and the people around them. So I, as a parent, would reject anybody forcing what I consider to be an unnatural agenda on my child or my children. Children should be allowed to just exist, to be children, and not even engage in such a topic until there is a certain level of maturity or mental stamina to understand what the subject is. They can't understand when they're at a young age. So young children do not have that mental capacity to even understand sexuality, and to have it thrust upon them, I'm not okay with that. They can identify a girl or a boy, and to start teaching them some binary nonsense is totally ridiculous. It is a form of mental manipulation, and sometimes it is just clear an agenda. It's like they're preparing them for acceptance. That I certainly cannot agree with. I was watching the movie Best Man, and they had the child of the actor Morris Chestnut to play a gay character. And when he was exposed as being, he was wearing lady clothes and shoes, but he got upset and his father got upset and he ran away. So the father was concerned for his well-being and started calling around. He was calling his friends, and he went to a friend of his home. And he came out with his parents. And this dude was insisting that this man referred to his son that he aided in giving birth to as binary. What the hell is binary? And I was sitting there and I honestly looked at my husband and I said, and excuse my French, I said, ain't that some bullshit? People have the right to believe whatever they please. But when you start pushing your imaginative agenda on others, that is when it becomes a problem. So now you want to confuse children as to what is a female and what is a male. At some point, it is going to be necessary that those of us who appreciate being who we are stand up for what we believe also. And that is no taking away any shine from what you binary nonsense is totally ridiculous. It is a form of mental manipulation, and sometimes it is just clearly an agenda. It's like they're preparing them for acceptance. That I certainly cannot agree with. I was watching the movie Best Man, and they had the child of the actor Morris Chestnut to play a gay character. And when he was exposed as being, he was wearing lady clothes and shoes, but he got upset and his father got upset and he ran away. So the father was concerned for his well-being and started calling around. He was calling his friends, and he went to a friend of his home. And he came out with his parents. And this dude was insisting that this man referred to his son that he aided in giving birth to as binary. What the hell is binary? And I was sitting there and I honestly looked at my husband and I said, and excuse my French, I said, ain't that some bullshit? People have the right to believe whatever they please. But when you start pushing your imaginative agenda on others, that is when it becomes a problem. So now you want to confuse children as to what is a female and what is a male. At some point, it is going to be necessary that those of us who appreciate being who we are stand up for what we believe also. And that is no taking away any shine from what you believe, but we can't have this agenda thrust upon our children, because what it is doing, it is confusing them. And it's like you want everybody else aiding in your confusion. Be and do as you would like to, but everybody else don't have to play along with your game, especially when it comes to babies. And this is why I encourage people to homeschool your children or hire a educator to teach your children from home, or we're going to have to develop our own schools that will not fill our children's head with confusion and having them think that up is down and down is up. I don't feel that it's necessary. I notice when I am cooking and cleaning and gardening, anything I am doing, my babies, they'll come around and they'll say, "What you doing?" And when I respond, they'll ask, why? And I got two of them at this why. And I don't discourage them from asking. Yeah, that why will get on your nerve, but I don't discourage them from asking or trying to understand what it is that I am doing. I tell them the truth, but on a level in which I know that they can understand and comprehend. And that goes for any lies or agendas that are out in this society and pushed in this society. You can't impose your ideology on everybody and expect the masses to agree with your philosophy. You're entitled to it. But we can't allow the masses of this society to feed our children incorrect information or confusing information. I am simply not teaching my children or my grandchildren to accept what is unnatural as natural, and I make it my business to decipher what they see in the media, when they're out and about or heard somewhere, maybe in a cartoon. I want to decipher it for them. It seems to be almost a war daily for the hearts and the minds of our youth. And just as there is an agenda to alter the mind and common sense of our children, there should be just as much force to resist that agenda so that they won't be confused about what is natural. By serving as an example, I mean, we must be that example. Now, we can engage in good health relationships. This is very important for our children to see. And that is why I chose Morris Chestnut, the picture of him and his wife because he made a statement. And he said that he'd been with her 27 years and he wasn't interested in cheating and running around because he knew she was a good woman. We rarely hear this, especially when it is a Black woman and a Black man in a relationship. We rarely see this or hear this enough. It exists, but it is important that we are building relationships. We cannot remove the importance of the mother, father, and children or child dynamic. You cannot reproduce or recreate life without the female woman and the male, which is a man. No matter how society tries to rearrange or try to recreate the dynamic, it is important not to rear children that focus on their sexuality. That means that we must focus on teaching our youth truth and not allowing them to be guided by what we would consider their lower levels and by a society that uses their innocence and lack of mental maturity to push their own agenda. This is why it's important for us to educate our own children. Understanding nature and having control over it helps to build a strong society of independent thinkers that know and recognize propaganda and are able to decipher and dismiss information that is not good, unnatural, and we have to play a role in promoting this and encouraging what is natural. That is why mom and dad is important in the upbringing of children, the father and the mother. You just don't want to be out here willy-nilly sleeping with anything and everything. You need to have a good understanding of the person that you are choosing to mate with. You need to know that when you have children, that they are important to both of you, and that nothing comes in between that. Now, I know this society it's turned completely upside down today, and people accept and do some things that you never thought they would, and even though they have the right to do it, you also have the right to protect what it is that you do. I can have both my parents' genes and a thorough understanding of them both, knowing that it took the male and the female to make me the woman that I am. When I look at a Black male, my brother or my cousin, I can appreciate his identity as a male or a man as well. This is why we got to stop looking for these one-night hookups and allowing our lower desires to overtake the natural desire to build relationships. Our family depends on it. Our existence depends on it. I also heard that the trans community stated that Aretha Franklin's song, "You Make Me Feel Like a Natural Woman," was innocent. It is probably because it was sung by a woman that spoke from a woman's natural feeling. So if you aren't that, it may be, and you could find it offensive. But I love the song and I can definitely relate. But we can't put a square peg in a round hole. So I want to encourage protecting the mind of our youth and maintaining the traditional family. You can live and let live, but let's protect what it is that we believe and protect the mind of our youth. Let's reject confusion and maintain civility and enlightenment and not give in to bewilderment. He's Zadugo, and I want to give a shout out to the Midtown Pookie. Thank you for your support. And Virtuous Woman TV, of course. Thank you very much for joining me. And Golden Black, Skinny, and what is her name? What's her name, Jenny? The Mommy Jur. I want to thank all of you. Third
Thank you for joining me. I appreciate you all coming in to listen to this topic. It is a real topic. And Nikki, I got to shout you out, Nikki Justice. Thank you for joining me today. Momager Life with G baby. You know you my boo. I want to thank you all for joining me. But these are some real interesting conversations we need to be having when it comes to these so-called relationships or relations. I don't know how you all feel about it, but we got to be building families. Golden Black, what you said? I'm gonna read what Golden Black said. In Black YouTube, we don't know the difference. A lot of times, I'll be honest, I just started being more serious about it myself. Love listening to honest advice. Thank you, sis. I do too, because we got to start building families again. Sometimes when I'm watching TV, it is so confusing. When I'm watching, I'm like, it's mostly about agendas. They're pushing something. And I'm like, we never hear the counter to it because people don't want to be labeled as racist, but I don't think it's racist. I think it is a conversation that we should be having. We have to be honest about what we see, what we're experiencing, and how this will affect the future. Sometimes I just sit and I ponder, and I'm thinking, when my grandbabies or my children are actually adults, are they going to even know what a female is? Did you all know that the dictionary is redefining what it is to be a woman? And this to me is pure confusion. So when we are entering into relationships, we have to keep in mind what we can produce from it. Because when we have these little children, we need to make sure we're guiding them the correct way. And we got to stop some of this confusion. My goodness, it's just overwhelming. But anyway, I want to thank all of you for joining me today, and I want to invite you to join me on tomorrow. We're going to start doing some relationships topics, and I want you all to join the panel if you would like to, because I'm sure everybody has some good information that you would want to share about your experiences, and we can learn from one another. That's how we build good families. So thank you for joining me today, and I want you to subscribe, like, or share this, and join me again right here tomorrow. Ta-ta!